Welcome to the Dana Grant Show, where heart-centered stories, authentic connections, real talk, and real action come together. I'm your host, Dana Grant, and I believe in the boundless potential within each of us. Join me as we dive into transformative conversations that not only inspire growth, but compassion with a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Let's embark on this journey together, unlocking all the power within and creating a life of purpose and fulfillment. This is the Dana Grant Show, where your story matters and your voice is heard, and I cannot wait to dive in. Welcome back to the Dana Grant Show, where we are focused on heart-centered connections, entrepreneurship, and people that I know you need to hear from. I want to welcome Brooke Hemingway. Oh my gosh, you're going to love this woman. I'm going to say Love, love, because we've just had a discussion that we should have taped. Welcome,
Yes.
Brooke. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for
I'm
having
doing a
me.
little jiggy.
I know I feel dancing out of my seat because, that's my personality, but I'm so
Yeah.
excited to be here as well and just so honored too.
You have a big story. You have a big family. You have multiple destinations. Like you said, I'm in Hawaii right now. I'm like, where are you, Brooke? You're like that. Where's Waldo? Where is Brooke? Everything about your life has been expansive. And we were just talking about how the first time I heard we don't have a consistency problem, we have a commitment problem, and how it changed my life, and how you drop little nuggets or like little, you feed people and especially women. And you are a huge attractor. I know that I'm going to see you in about 3 weeks at Align, which is a huge event. Can't wait.
Thank you. Yes, I love seeing people win and succeed. And I am really passionate about women, but I also have like a big heart for men because I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of times the men get left behind in the growth and the personal
Yeah.
development stuff. And I'm like, they need this too. But
Yeah.
obviously, with my story, my background, and just my circumstances, a lot of women relate to me.
Let's talk about your story and your background. Let's start there. What would you like to share there? I'm not going to ask. I'm just going to stay connected to what you
Yeah.
want to share and what you think,
Yeah.
maybe what people need for the first of the year.
I mean, I think that my Genesis story or the beginnings is much like a lot of people, very traditional. I had traditional education in health and wellness. I was in the fitness field. I was a nurse at UCLA, actually, was my first job. We lived in West LA for a while. And I was a wife. And 8 years into our marriage, we started having kids, and we had 6 kids. And it was like boom, 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 boom. I was just like a baby machine, which I never thought I would be because I was never baby hungry, which is hilarious.
Ah,
But I ended up having 6 kids. And somewhere in there around baby number 5, I was really just burnt out on life and just tapped out and was just going through the motions, getting through the day. I wasn't really turned on by anything in my life. I was really not fulfilled. And I felt really guilty about that. I felt like I should love my life. I was living on the North
mm,
Shore of Kauai in a home on 3 acres that we had just built from the ground up, debt free, and we had 5 healthy children. I was married to, and I'm still married to, a man that I deeply love. And I just thought, what is wrong with me? I should be happier. And I'm not sure if anyone here listening has ever felt that way. Like, all the circumstances look great on paper. Most people
right.
would love to have my life, but there's something about my life that is off and that is missing. And so around that time, about 9 years ago, I was introduced to entrepreneurship. I was at the time a full-time stay-at-home mom because, hello, I had 9 kids, 5 kids,
Th-
not 9 kids, 5 kids, 9 and under
Is
at
there
the
more
time.
coming? Is there?
No, girl, I am 46, going on 47. That the factory is closed. But I had 5 kids, 9 and under, and my hands were full. But I was
Yeah.
introduced to entrepreneurship and introduced to community building and leadership and really developing, coaching, leading potential in other people.
Mm,
And it awakened this part of my soul, my spirit that had been dormant for a long time. And I really realized that I missed connection. I
right.
missed community. I missed having an impact outside of the home. And so I dove in and I built a very successful business very quickly. but I didn't have support and I didn't really know what I was doing. So it was
Right.
super messy and chaotic. However, I knew that I was supposed to do it. So I was
Mm.
willing to embrace the messy. And that's a big part of my story and a big part of what I talk about. Because I
Mm.
feel like a lot of people that are building a dream or building a business or going after something, they feel like it's supposed to look a certain way. And because it doesn't look
Right.
that way, they feel like maybe they're doing it wrong, or they need to go to this guru or that guru, or do it this way, or read this book, or so and so says I should do it this way.
Right.
And it's like your experience is going to be different than anybody else's. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with the way you did it. So
Right.
when I say I built my first business while raising babies, nursing babies, like having babies, that is legitimately what it looked like. I remember one evening leading a call on Zoom while holding my baby and nursing my baby, stirring the pot over the stove because I didn't have support. My husband worked 80 hours a week in the ER as an ER doctor.
Yeah.
And I was cooking dinner, leading a call, and making dinner. And this little baby hand starts moving up towards my neck and starts tickling my neck. I was trying to like position the camera so like you
Yes.
could only see my
Yes.
head. And it's like I couldn't hide it. And I just remember in that moment being like, this is just what it looks like. And I'm not going to try to hide the fact that I have like a million humans and I'm trying to make dinner and I'm leading a call. And it was like I stopped trying to make it look like I was this like perfectly
Mm.
professional, had it all together and like had the help that I need. I was like, no, this is messy, but it's what I'm supposed to be doing right now. So I'm going to do it. I'm not going to wait for a better circumstance. I'm not going to wait for someone to come along and save me. I'm not going to wait until the kids are grown or wait for school to start or wait for whatever. Like waiting
Yeah.
was not an option.
Yeah.
So I did it while it was messy. And from there, I went on to build another community, a coaching community, mentorship, and events, and Align, which happened for the first time about 6 years ago. So that's kind of like the short sort of story is like very traditional, married, kids,
Yeah.
in a career that was a responsible career for a woman that was going to have children. I was a
Yeah.
nurse, it's like
Yeah.
women choose nursing or being a teacher or things
Yeah.
like that, but I hated it. And I finally decided once I discovered entrepreneurship, like, oh my
Mm.
gosh, I'm a creator. I'm a creative. I love to build things. Like, I'm a builder. That's what I am. And so that's just a little bit about me and my story.
I love your story, and I love the fact that you did it messy. You showed up. You didn't wait for the perfect circumstance. You had a baby, and I still watch you, and I'm thinking, ah, look at that. She's traveling, she's walking, she's on her treadmill, she's out in the snow. She's showing what it looks like in real time, that there
Yes.
is no perfect moment to work out. There is no perfect moment to show up. There is no perfect moment to create an event or show up in
Mhm.
your life. And we talked a little bit about that and how people like to make themselves wrong and the stories they create to prevent their life from moving forward. So I like to go to like jump from your story to
Yeah.
what and how you address women when everything goes wrong. That,
Yeah.
I put, and you put, there is no wrong and sitting in the muck. Ex, let's expand on that because let's face it, if we wait till we're sitting on the lotus, I'm not sure it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, it's never going to happen. I mean, it's never going to happen for me. Like I'm 46 at the time of this recording, almost 47, and my youngest is only 7, so she's going to be 60. Or I'm going to be 60 by the time she's 18. And so if I waited until they were grown, like it would just never happen. However,
Yeah.
I plan to be hot like you, and I plan to be fit and healthy and like have my shiz together. But
At
but
60, I am still learning. Unfortunately, when we commit to this process, I'm a student forever. I'm like, well, I thought at 60 I was going to be like have some enlightenment happen. I
yes,
it's just
no,
I'm
we're
doubling
just
down on the
continuing.
commitment. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just continuing to learn.
Yeah.
I kind of have a strong opinion about this. I feel like what happens is, on social media and on a lot of these
Yeah.
platforms and with a lot of, thought leaders, these
Yeah.
thoughts start to pass around. And lately, like for the last few years, it's been all around like you got to burn the thing down. You got to burn the bridges and burn the sages and burn the boats and burn all the things. And if you want to move forward, you can't, like, you have to let go of your old self and like all these things. Like it's like burn, 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 burn.
Mhm.
And while I understand it, what I also see people doing is that when
Yeah.
things get difficult or things get uncomfortable, or they might have to have real conversations, or they might have to really sit in a sucky place for a while, instead of actually doing the deeper emotional work of how they created that circumstance
Yeah.
through the way in which they relate to themselves and or their relationship with God and others. Like unless they do that actual work, all they're going to do is have a trail of burnt bridge after burnt bridge after burnt bridge after burnt opportunity after burnt boat. And like
Yeah.
I watched my dad do this growing up. And that's probably why I'm so passionate about this. It's like, yes, sis, and also no. When things
Mhm.
get hard or things get really uncomfortable, you have
Mhm.
the opportunity to look in the mirror and claim extreme ownership and responsibility with compassion and love, right? It's not shaming yourself, it's not
Yeah.
hating yourself. It's
Right.
like asking yourself, like, how did I contribute to this difficult circumstance?
Yeah.
And also, how can I improve it? Whether it's in leadership or it's in your relationship or it's in your business. And so I just am kind of tired of people just saying F it to everything instead of sitting in the uncomfortable and doing the work to uncover. And that means you have to slow down. Like you can't just be like a freight train moving through life and business and people and opportunities. Like you have to have the wisdom inside of you to slow down and be like, how could I improve this circumstance? How could I improve this situation? How can I change? And as you change and improve, sometimes things will naturally fall away or fall out of your life, but it didn't
Right.
have to be a burning process,
No.
right?
Unless
And
it's a full
so
moon and we're burning what we want to leave behind. Yeah, it doesn't have to be burning the house down. It's like, yeah, we're not burning our lives down. And yeah, I love
right.
that.
I slowed down like over this last 2 years and went through a lot and have walked through a lot, even in 2024, walked through a lot of really difficult situations because whether your kids
Yeah.
are young or your kids are older, for
Oh, I
those of
saw
you
you
that,
had a son leave on a. I watched the release
but it
and
was
yeah.
another child of mine. It wasn't that one. It was
Yeah.
another one because
Ah,
I'm telling you, there's never a perfect time because there's always going to be something else. And instead of
yeah.
burning some things down that I could have burnt down, letting go of some businesses, letting go of some
Yeah.
opportunities, and just saying, F it, I can't do this. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to slow down a little bit. I'm just going to sit in this for a little bit. I'm just going to marinate in it for a little bit. And I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to make any rash decisions. I'm not going to make any big changes.
Mm.
I'm just going to sit. And it's been so cool to start to watch things come back around because I had patience. I
Yeah.
had patience in the uncomfortable seasons and a season that I'm still walking through to some degree, but I'm on the other side in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. And it took that patience and wisdom to not just throw in the towel on everything.
I see a lot with entrepreneurs. It's a really great perspective of I think the slay mentality is kind of out, not really. Now it's just hustle and there's so much competitiveness. And when you see that, what can you tell them? Because I know it's the first of the year. Everybody's out like gangbusters. I've never done resolutions. I just feel like it's more of a movement of what can I do to amplify and what can I do to release and be
Yeah.
still, and what can you tell the people that are anxious? And I mean, they're full of anxiety. They feel like they're behind. They need more. They're desperate for movement to be seen, to grow, to build. It hurts my heart sometimes
Yeah.
to watch it. And what can you say to them?
I would say anxiety has been my companion for much of my life. So I
Oh,
understand that. I'm very driven. I'm very ambitious. I can make things happen. I have a lot of drive. But a lot of that drive that you have and a lot of anxiety that you feel is because you're not truly in alignment. Because when
Mm.
you are in alignment with your unique path and your unique mission and your unique gifts, and also specifically, I feel like we have this problem where we look around at what everyone else is doing
Mm.
and everyone else is creating, and there is this idea or image that people are crushing it. But I, like you, have mentored and coached so many people over the years where we get to peel back the curtain and see like what is presented out there
Yeah.
is oftentimes like it's a house of cards, like it's not real. And
Yeah.
so what you need to do is you need to tap into what is real. And specifically, before I set any goals of any kind or vision, I really think about the vision for the year. I get
Mhm.
in touch with what I value most.
Mhm.
And when I deeply understand what I value most, which is a process of first just asking myself, what do I value most in life? And I'll list out like 10 things. And I might say freedom, I might say family, I might say joy, I might say peace, but I go
Yeah.
through this. And then I ask myself, well, what does that mean to me? And what does that give me a sense of? Or how does that make me feel? And what I'm doing is I'm taking that initial thing I said
Right.
and I'm tying it to the deeper meaning, because the deeper meaning is what I actually value, what I
Mm.
actually want. And if I actually value love, if I actually value peace, if I actually value connection, then I can make my goals from my values. I can make my vision from my values, as opposed to looking all around me and being like, she's killing it there. Maybe I should add that to my website, or she's doing this in her business. I guess I should create that offering, because
Mhm.
everyone's like, here, you need to have a low, a mid, a high tier. You need to have a podcast. You need to have a funnel. You need to have, it's like all the different
Yeah.
things.
All the
But
things.
if you
Yeah.
don't know who the F you are and what you value, like none of it matters. And so I would say slow down and
Yeah.
ask yourself, what do I value most in life? Because here's the example. I have a lot of big goals for this year. I'm going to write a book. I want it to be a best-selling book. I'm going to double my income in
Mhm.
both of my primary streams of income, which is big. I want to buy $1 million piece of land that's right across from us in Hawaii for my posterity.
Mm.
Like I have these massive goals. So when I sat down to do the values exercise and what I valued most, if I had started with my goals, I would have come up with something completely different that I valued, like discipline,
Ooh, let's go.
hard work.
Let's go back and do that again. What did you just say? I want everyone to like slow down and hear this. What did you just say?
I don't even remember what I just
You
said,
said
girlfriend.
I stay with my core values. Had I started with my goals, it would have looked like discipline, da da da.
Oh,
So,
yes. I would have had it backwards, and that's how most people do it. They sit
yeah.
down and they're like, vision, goals, dreams. I'm gonna kill it. Like, I'm gonna bust it out. This is gonna be my breakthrough year. And it's like, I'm not making fun of you.
Oh,
I'm
you're
just,
making me.
I understand you because I was you, and I just
I
want to hug
understand you
you.
too. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with everybody because,
I want to hug
yes,
you, and
uh,
I want to tell you at
come
40,
to a line. We will all have a big group hug because we're all
big
there. We're all
hug,
in
and
this. We're all
we'll play
connected.
some drumsticks, and we'll dance, and we'll cry, and we'll laugh, and all the
Yeah.
things. So, anyways, like people have it backwards. They like set all the goals, and what I'm saying is you got to get in alignment with your values first. And so when I sat down, the first thing I did is I did the values
Yeah.
exercise, and my top value that I came up with kind of blew my mind, because I wasn't
Oh,
expecting this to be the
that
number one.
surprised you.
It was wellness. Wellness. My number one value for 2025 is wellness. That doesn't mean health. It's different than health.
Yeah.
Wellness to me is this holistic, like
Yeah.
holistically, emotionally, spiritually, physically.
Yeah.
Wellness is number one. And at first I was like, this is so weird that this is my value, because after I did the values, then I did the vision casting. I did the dreams and the goals, and I wrote down these big things, and I was like, oh my goodness, light bulb, fireworks. Like, okay, if I prioritize wellness as my number one value, what's going to happen is I am going to emotionally and physically just be so tuned in. My soul is going to be aligned. It's like I'm going to have this like energy and this like ability and this fire inside of me so that the things that I want, whether we want to say it's attraction, but it's like
Yeah.
it's just it's going to happen in a more easeful way
Yeah.
because I'm not forcing it through discipline and
Mm.
habits. Like I don't need to read Atomic Habits again. Like and hey, it's a great book. Like
It's
if
a
James
great
Clear
book. So
ever listens to
you're
this,
cracking
I
me up
am
because
not
it's right there on
I'm
my
not
list.
I'm not dissing you, James. I'm not dissing you.
It's a
Okay.
great book. We love it.
I get you, brother. But I'm saying
Yeah.
that how many times have you read that and you've lived the same year over and over and
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
again? And so,
Yeah.
could it be that you actually need to be honest with yourself about what you value and then
Yeah.
match it up against what you've been going after or what you've been doing? And if there's misalignment, that is why you feel like you're on a hamster wheel and you can never get to where you want to be because you're chasing the wrong tail or you're chasing the tail in the wrong way, not from a heart centered, heart led, values driven
Mm.
place. And
Yeah.
so for me, it was wellness, but I still plan to crush all those other things. It's just going to be from the core
Mm.
value of wellness that I build the dream, that I build the vessel.
So being type A, which I can identify, how do you slow that roll? I mean, everyone goes to the goals first. First of the year, they're going to go out there and slay, and then they're going to crash and burn, and then they're going to go through the hamster wheel again. What can we tell them? Is it core values they're going to lean into? What is there a simple one, two, three that you could offer up at this point that they could pivot right now and just slow,
Yeah.
breathe, and tap into something different that could be
Yeah.
life altering? Like that statement you said, we don't have a, I mean, I'm going to say it 1,000 times because people, this mattered. I probably, when you said that, it aligned so clearly with me that I thought you do not have a consistent, you have a commitment problem.
Well,
And you better choose a
yeah.
word because skinny ain't working no more and
No, no.
abandoned you. Yeah. Yeah.
And we're all plenty good at being consistent at the things that we're consistent at every
Yeah.
single day. We are habitual creatures. And
Yeah.
so I would just say to you, just a word of caution is that if you keep trying to do the same thing from the same state of mind and from the
Yeah.
same roots or the same core, ultimately you're going to create the same fruit. It's going to bear the
Yeah.
same fruit.
How can they
And so
identify that it's coming from the same tree? It's the same, they're nurturing it the same. How can they identify what it
you're feeling
may
anxiety. You're
anxiety.
feeling anxiety. You're feeling like you have to force or push something,
Mm,
right? Like working with energy and intention and working hard is different than working from
mm,
a place of anxiety and fear and like those alarms are going off in your brain. It's different. Like I do work hard
yeah.
and I am very intentional and I have a lot of projects on my plate, but I don't work from a place of anxiety and racing heart and alarms
Yeah.
going off in my head. So it's that little difference in what it feels like in your body. And I
Mm,
would say, like, one, two, three, like the process doesn't have to take a lot of time. Yeah,
right.
I'm not asking you to slow down for the whole first quarter because you type A people, you're like, I got to get on this. Like, I got to do this. I'm saying, like, how about
Yeah.
you take an hour?
Yeah.
How about you just take 1 hour and you sit down and you really ask yourself, what do I value most in life?
Mm,
And why do I value that? What does that mean to me? And then look at that list and like which ones really pop out of that page and really stand out to you as like boom, 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 this is it. These are the top three.
yeah.
And then how would I define? Step two would be how do I define living in those values?
Yeah.
So when I am living in the value of peace, I am, and then list out those things that you're doing or experiencing so that you can
Mm,
understand this is what it actually looks like for me to live in alignment with the thing that my soul is saying, that's what you want, that's what you need, that's what you should go after. What does that look like? And then step three is like, okay, now that I understand this is what
right.
it looks like to live in alignment with the core value of
Right.
peace. Here are my goals. I want to make an extra $1 million this year, or I want to
Mm,
write that book. Well, okay, I get to keep that goal, but how can I create that goal from the
mm,
place of alignment with this core value of peace? Okay,
mm,
well, it means some of the practical things might be that I'm going to write this book on in the mornings from 5 to 7 when it's quiet and I feel peaceful inside and I haven't hopped on social media and I haven't done anything else. It's like creating the goal from a place of peace, which if that's a core value. So it's
Right.
just that we don't go straight to the goals. So we start with the values. How would I define living in that value? And then I can take my goals that I have and I can infuse the value into the goal. I can infuse it in there so that I'm actually not creating from a place of anxiety or stress or fear or worry. Like if you're feeling that way on a daily basis, something is off and you need to
Right.
just slow down and come back into alignment. I get this because that used to be me. And now I
Mhm.
have really big goals, but I don't have alarms going off in my head constantly because I know
Yeah.
what I value. I prioritize that. And hey, guess what? That also means, Dana, that there's a lot more things that I say no to.
Yeah, I was just
Nowadays,
going to ask
there's
you, what does that
yeah.
consist of? Because I know people are listening right now and they're saying, I'm anxious. I don't know how to do it. And they're out there looking at what's done and they're like, why not me? I'm good at what I do. Why can't I achieve that? And they keep elevating on what they're not. How could they pivot and stay in that power of I need to be still. I need to stay in alignment. I need to breathe. When we hopped on, you saw me taking a deep breath because it's like, I mean, I didn't mean to have you see that, but I'm like, oh,
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, I think you need to identify what your triggers are and what your kryptonite is.
Ah,
And that's different for everyone, like what
yes.
your kryptonite, your triggers. And so if you know that following so and so or watching all this stuff on
Yeah.
social media or comparing yourself or certain situations, you're not in a place yet where you've done enough healing to be around that. You have to self-select out. And so it really is guarding and protecting your heart and your
I love you
mind.
just said that, not to interrupt, but self-select out. You can even, oops, there went my pen.
Yes.
You can even, I'm back. Mute people. You don't have to unfollow them. But
I
I
did that the
love,
other day.
yeah,
I muted someone and I was like, I
I,
love this person, but at
but
this season,
isn't what I need right now.
no, it's not what I need. And you're the only one that can protect yourself in that way. That
Yeah.
is your job to do that. And so I think that is the first thing. The second thing I would say is you constantly have to be doing these exercises that I'm sure all of you have heard of, where you recognize what you have done. You see what your wins are. You know, one of my very first coaches, his name was Preston Pugmire.
Oh, I love
He
that name. Preston Pugmire. I love that
I
name.
know. He
Love it.
taught me that I needed to make a list of my 25 wins because I was feeling
Mm,
like I was not good enough. I was never going to make it. I could not be a
yeah.
happy, successful millionaire and be a mom and be madly in love with my husband and be fit and like I couldn't be all these things. And it was the limitations and the not enoughness. And so just doing the exercise of, you know what, I have accomplished this. I have done this. I am winning. Benjamin Hardy talks about being in the gain, recognizing the
Yeah.
gains that you've had instead of just seeing the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It's like looking back to measure how far you've come and see that you're that much closer. When I stay in my own circle, in my own sphere, and I focus on that, it's like I'm not even anywhere close to who I was 9 years ago. And I suspect that those of you listening are in the same boat. So you've got to
Yes.
stay in your lane and assess all of the gains and assess all of the wins and continue to remind yourself of those.
Mhm. Right.
So, those are two of the things that I do on a regular basis to
Mhm.
turn off the comparison. And also, I think to stay unadulterated. I think
Mm.
it's so
Yeah.
important
Unadulterated.
to
Yeah.
unadulterated to stay who you really are and to not lose your unique voice or your unique offering or how you present that offering to the world.
Yeah.
There's enough people doing enough different things.
Yeah.
And everybody can do all those things really well. But if you're trying to do it like someone else,
Yeah.
you lose your uniqueness. And I feel
Yeah.
like that is just the sweet spot is you being unadulterated, unaltered, authentically who you are. And if you
Mm.
find yourself trying to sound like someone else, do it like someone else, be like someone else, cut that off. cut it off and get back to who you really are. Again, it goes back to core values as
Yeah.
well, right? So,
Oh, absolutely right. I mean, truer words have never been spoken. I mean, the fact is, like you said, I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel, but we all
right.
have a unique way of expressing. Like when I said, I loved what you said, well, I'm not the first one that said it, but it's how you delivered it in your voice, your energy.
Yeah.
And I think that if people, and tell me if you align with this or you think this is true. I think that when people show up in our lives, if we pay attention to the
Yeah.
signs, like you showed up in my life, and I'm like, and then all of a sudden you start showing up in my stories. Now there's thousands and thousands of people out there. And I'm not on social media that much because I'm not going to say I'm crushed every day. Well, a little bit
Yes.
crushed every day. But when I go out there, boom, you're in my stories and I find myself watching and saying, "Ooh, she's making this work. I can make that work too." Everything it feels very nurturing that we call in the alignment, the frequency of where we need to be, and we have to pay attention to that. Would you
Well,
agree with that?
I would absolutely agree. And the commitment that I've made, that's an invitation to anyone listening, is an invitation to freedom. And I
Mhm.
decided several years ago that I was going to be free to be me. It's really an invitation, I think, in
Mm.
2025
Oh,
to
free
freedom
to be me.
specifically. And so I share the real things because I remember coming up as a new entrepreneur who, in my circumstance, whether you have kids or not, if you're new to entrepreneurship or new to what you're creating, feeling like, but how do they actually do that? Or what does that actually look like? Or how do they manage X, Y, and Z?
Mm.
And finding very little out there of people that were actually being real and showing how, like last night, I was like, okay, I'm trying to have quality family time, and also I didn't get my workout in, and also I'm planning an event, and it's like I had 30 minutes in there where I could exercise, but I also had to catch up with my assistant. So I put
Yeah.
my earbuds in, I put my sneaks on, I went for a run, and I was like voice memoing her in my panting and my breathlessness while
Yeah.
I was running. I could have been like, you know what, I can't get the workout in, or I can't communicate and get this task done. But I talked about that, and I showed, it's like, hey, like I don't always have the perfect situation or the perfect setup,
Mhm.
and this is what it looks like to be a successful entrepreneur.
Mhm.
Sometimes it is messy, and deciding to
Mm.
give myself that
Yeah.
freedom to just be me, like it has
Uh-huh.
endeared so many people to me, not
Yeah.
because I'm trying to be that way. Like
No.
in Hawaii we say, oh, she's such a try hard, right? These people that are like really like trying to be authentic, it's like,
I've
no, this
never
is
heard that, but I love that. I'm writing that down. Try
a
hard.
try hard.
You're a
Like, oh
try
my gosh,
hard.
she's such a try
Yeah.
hard. Yeah, yeah. Like, the people that you're like, oh my gosh, like they're trying really hard to be authentic, but you're like,
It's
I
not
think she's
connecting.
I think
Like,
she's keeping something out. It's
yeah.
like, no, like what you see is what you get with me. And I want to have relatable success. I want to have a relatable body.
Yeah.
I want to have a relatable
Yeah.
relationship. I want you to watch me just like I want people to watch you. And
Yeah.
I want them to feel like, oh my gosh, she sees me. Brenda Burchard said something several years ago that really stood out to me. It's the difference between you walking into a room and saying, "Here I am," and you walking into a room and saying, "There you are.
Oh,
There
I
you are.
love that. I
I
love
see
that.
you. I feel you. I am you." I'm not here to be like, "Here I am. Look at me making all my money, being gorgeous, having perfect." And
Mm.
so it just people want the realness. People
Yeah.
want the real you, and your story, how it is good enough. You don't
Yeah.
have to elaborate. You don't have to be excessive with it. Like your
Mm.
story, how it is good enough. And I'm fascinated with people's stories. Like it's the first thing I look for when I go to
Mm.
someone's feed. I'm like, what's their story? And if I can't find their story, I'm not interested. Or if they're not sharing with me like their real life and the stories, I'm like, I'm not interested. Like, no
Yeah.
thanks. I want
How,
real.
how do people work through the fear of the transparency and the vulnerability to show up? Because you know that when they show up out there in their stories and tell their story, a lot of them are terrified that they're going to be judged. How could they just show up and start taking ownership in their presence?
I always say that people get whatever they want. So you get whatever
Mm,
you want. And there is an opportunity for you, like, say, for example, you really want to launch a successful business because you're a
mm,
single mom and you want to be able to provide a life for your children
yeah.
that you like, that's just abundant. And you have this business idea or you have this thing you want to launch and you want that so badly for your children, but you're afraid of what people will think when you launch that business or
Right.
you launch that brand. What I
Mm,
want you to do is I want you to sit down and say, I want this for my children. I want them to have a better life than me. I want them to have experiences that are abundant, but actually, I want my own image and safety, and I want people to like me more than that. And
ah,
when you say that, it's when you actually say that, like, it's kind of shocking. And it's like, oh
yeah.
my God, I can't believe, like, me not doing this is me saying that I want my
Mm,
image more than I want to bless my family or bless my children. And when you say it like that, it feels so absurd. And it just kind of helps you to realize, like, oh, wait, okay, priorities. My
mhm,
kids are way more important on the totem pole, and I would do anything for them. And
yeah.
the real meaning of me doing this is for them. Viktor Frankl
Mm,
talks about in Man's Search
yeah.
for Meaning, the reason why we do what we do and we have the reason to persevere and survive is meaning. It's not just our desire to seek pleasure and avoid pain. While that is a
Mm,
motivator, it's
yeah.
actually meaning. And so
Right.
you've got to tie whatever it is you're building to that deepest meaning, who you're showing up for, who you're serving. And
Mm,
it's usually going to be someone that you were, or it's going to be someone that you love deeply. So anything you're
mm,
afraid of, I just want you to put it into that phrase. Okay, if I don't take this action,
mm,
I'm saying I love other people's opinions more than I love my sweetheart. Or I love other people's opinions more than I love women that have been abused. Or I love, like,
mm.
whatever it is. And it's like
Right.
that kind of shakes you like awake and helps you to realize that's preposterous. I'm
Yeah.
not living my life from that place
Yeah.
anymore. And then I think it's also like a muscle, Dana. I think it, like, I was awkward when I started showing up and talking about things. And so for those of you that are new to just being transparent and authentic, and just open, is it's a muscle. Like, I
Yeah.
could do it in my sleep now because I've just
Yeah.
gotten used to it and I've built up that endurance from
Yeah.
my level of commitment.
Yeah. Although I still don't like to watch myself. I don't like to watch you.
I,
I'm not comfortable with that. Even
I
though it
don't
feels
either.
like a muscle, it's like I prefer not to watch it and edit. Just you all do that. But
I hate the sound of my voice. I can't stand the sound of my voice. Like, I cannot listen back to anything or else I would never do anything because
oh,
I
you
don't
have a
like
great
my
voice.
voice.
But I totally get that. I wonder if that's a universal thing. I wonder, someone said, "Hey, you have a great voice." And I'm like, oh, I can't listen to my voice out there. Why would you say it? But isn't it interesting, the perspective of our relationship to self? And I always say there's an easy way and a hard way. Brooke, you make it look so easy. For the people out there that choose the hard way or think it's easy for her, she must have a gift, she must be super uber intelligent, or she must have mad business skills. Tell them the truth. Tell them the truth. Y'all
The
be
truth.
y'all better be listening. And I don't say y'all because I'm from California. I don't even know where that came
Oh,
from. But y'all better be listening to this. What's the truth?
the truth is, it has been the last 9 years of my life have been the hardest 9 years of my life, but also the most rewarding.
Oh,
When I started out, I didn't know how to do anything. I had 150 Facebook friends. I didn't know how to use any social media platform. I am an introvert. I'm not an extrovert.
mhm.
I like to spend time by myself. I didn't have a lot of relationships or a lot of
Yeah.
friends. I had moved around a lot growing up. And so I had these core wounds of just like,
Mm,
having to leave. And it was just, I could disconnect and I could avoid like nobody's business. And
yeah.
so I didn't have a lot of relationships. I had no connections. I had no skills in sales and marketing and branding and speaking or putting on event. Like, I had none
Y'all
of
listening
the,
to this? She had no skill. She was an introvert. This wasn't a natural born gift that she landed on a planet and all of it just went boom.
No, none of it, none
No.
of it. But what I did have that stemmed back to when I was young was a desire to help people feel something, a
Mm.
desire to help people feel something because I felt
Mm.
so much growing up and I hurt so much growing up. And I didn't even have the worst childhood ever, but we
Yeah.
all have our own
Yeah.
experiences that shape us. And that pain that I remembered feeling, I didn't want other people to feel. And so I decided whatever I was going to do, I was going to become the best at it. Whatever I was
Mm.
going to do, I was going to learn
Mm.
how to do it. And so YouTube and Google were my best friends. There was no chat GPT back then. I'm old, right? It was
Yeah.
Google and it was YouTube. And I also, it's like those of you listening, I understand where you're coming from because I used to look at
Mhm.
other people and be, must be nice. She doesn't have little kids. Must be nice. She has a house cleaner. Must be nice. Her husband doesn't work 80 hours a week. Must be nice. Her mom watches her kids. Must be nice. Fill in the blank. And after a couple of years of doing that crap, I was like, that is BS. I am
Yeah.
using that as an excuse to not show up and
Yeah.
do all of the things that I could possibly do. And so once I
Mm.
gave up the must be nice and I decided no one is coming to save me, rescue me, do it for me but me. And I have
Mm.
this big, beautiful brain and I have this passion in my heart. I can learn anything. And so it was just this process of like every week, I'm going to learn something new. So I'm going to learn
Mm.
how to use Flowdesk. Okay, I'm going to learn how to use Canva. Okay, I'm going to learn. And it was like one thing a week, and one thing led to another. I'm going to learn how to communicate with people. I'm going to learn how to have more influence. I'm going to go to conferences, read books. I'm going to listen to podcasts. I was like this sponge learning all this stuff. And for me that think must be nice, just has this skill. Oh, she's so cute. She speaks so well. I sounded ridiculous in the beginning. I probably sound ridiculous right now,
No.
but I've put in my reps.
Ah.
I've put in my not
I was
even
gonna say you
10,000
put in
hours,
the reps.
20,000, 30,000, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, girlfriend, I have put in the reps over the last 9 years. And I
Yeah.
promise you, if you put in the reps, you're going to get to where you want to be. And any sort of
Yeah.
excuse that's like there, present right now, any excuse is not serving you, even if it's valid. Like, I want to have compassion for you. And I
Mm.
do. I understand. I have had children that are chronically ill, children that have
Yep.
had mental illness, legal things happen,
Yeah.
betrayal happen. Like,
Yeah.
I've had so many different things happen, things that I don't even talk about because I don't need to. Like, you don't
Yeah.
need to know everything. But I have
Unless you
just
write
found
your book, it may go in there so people can
there,
identify and see, like, wow, if she went through that, I had no idea I can do it too. I think the only
yes,
reason I share so much in my book is like, I can do it too. There's no way she
yes.
went through that. Yes. And you can do it too. And you can do it too.
Exactly. It's for that purpose. And I just always want people to know that I'm just an average girl. I'm just an average Midwest girl who had dreams when I was young and gave up
Yeah.
those dreams because I didn't have consistency in my life and I didn't
Yeah.
have total stability in my life. And one day, 9 years ago, I woke up and I realized, oh, there's some dreams in there. I'm going to figure out how to do it. And
Mm.
that little seed, just like nurturing that little seed inside of you just a little bit every day, becoming a little bit better, it's just a process. Like, stick with
Mm.
it, be committed, it's coming, believe for it, and consistently tell yourself over and over and over and over, this is happening, this is happening, this is
Mm.
happening. Like, you're going to believe your own, as someone said to me once, those are just vain imaginings. And I was like, well, I don't know. Like, I'm just going to go with it. And those vain imaginings have come to pass. Like, vain
Yeah.
imaginings, meaning like, there's no way, that's crazy. You're making
Yeah.
that up. But those things I have actually created. So I didn't count on anybody else to believe it for me. I first and foremost had to be convicted. You see, a lot of
Yeah.
you are looking around for somebody else to validate your decision, for tell you to tell you you can do this, you've got this. That's a good idea. And you're
Yeah.
looking for that external validation when really you have got to convict and convince yourself. And
Yeah.
once you are convicted and you are converted and you are convinced, like, there is nothing that can stop you.
Convicted, converted, convinced. I love that. The three. Oh, that's a new three C's.
Yes, convicted,
Convicted, converted.
converted, and convinced.
Yeah. I
Yes.
love that. I love that because I always say, no one knows you better than you. Your commitment to you means everything. It doesn't matter and you just absolutely brought that home. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love you. You know
I
what?
love you too.
I think this is going to be a phenomenal. Everyone play this on repeat, share it with someone who needs it. We're all connected. We're all in this together. This is such valuable advice. Not just advice, but so much
Truth.
connection and truth. Yeah. And how can people find you? How could they? I mean, I'm going to see you in a few weeks at Align in Scottsdale. It's going to be a
Yes.
room full of vibration and awakening and awareness. And I have stories to tell you. We don't have time for it here of people showing up that have reached out to me and said, it's crazy. It's some kind of
Yeah.
energetic phenomenon that's happening. And it's like,
There's
I
an
don't know.
energy. Yeah,
There's
there's
there's an
an I mean
energy.
there's an energy and a vibe at Align. It's not just like your typical
No,
business conference. It's
no.
like strategy with soul. It's like a soul deep conference. And yes, like we're all entrepreneurs there. We're all creatives. We're all difference makers, people trying to make an impact. But there is such intention and soul
Yeah.
infused into this event that when you walk into the room, it's like you walk into this vortex of amazing energy
Mm.
and genuine people. I attract
Yeah.
genuine people.
Yeah.
So they're not tryhards, they're not trying to be something they aren't or trying to look,
Yeah.
a certain like they're just
Yeah.
genuine souls that are hungry for change, hungry for growth, hungry for impact. And so that's Align. I mean, if you want
Mm.
to be in that room, it's aligneventslive.com. We would love to see you there.
And
But
what are the
also I think
dates?
just
It's
following
yeah.
along on Instagram. Oh yeah, January 23rd, 24th, and 25th in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
And
And
then just following along on Instagram. I think if you just kind of want to follow along and see if I'm your vibe, see if I'm your jam, and see if I can add some value and just inspire, encourage, educate, support in any way,
yeah.
I'd love to just be friends over there.
And her stories, I mean, you're going to like keep following, keep listening. I mean, it's crazy. I didn't just trip over it, but I felt like I did. It was just aligned or energetically, it was on my radar and I pay very close attention to what
Yeah.
shows up consistently. I'm like, she keeps showing up in my life. And
Well, I
I'm so
love people.
I'm so grateful you did. Well, you can feel that. You can feel the
Yeah.
genuine care. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you're holding space in that room in a line. I think magic. I just said it today to like 9 people. Magical things are going to happen in that room. I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe transformation, magical transformation, not just transformation.
Yeah.
I'm so
I
burnt out on the word, but magical,
um
God-centered
I feel
movement. I mean,
like
yeah, yeah,
yes. Yes, that's what happens there. And I feel like that is the intention is when you come into my space, whether it's on Instagram or whether it's at Align, is I want you to feel seen. I
yeah.
want you to feel understood. I want you to feel known. I want you to feel empowered in the truest sense of the word. And that is the feeling that you'll have. And so, whether I see you there or I see you online, I hope that I can add value, hope,
Mhm. Yeah,
energy,
yeah,
truth to your life. Those are all
yeah.
things that
I
really
love
I
that.
value. But I've loved having this conversation and loved being
Oh,
here. And I
me
love your
too.
genuine soul as well and how we've
Thank you.
connected.
I know. I don't even know how long I've kept. Oh, wow. I've kept you over an hour. That's crazy. Doesn't it feel like it's been like 15, 20 minutes? Or maybe it's just,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
feel
it's
like we just
crazy how
scratched the surface.
just the surface. So I'm going to have all Brooke's links and the event, all of it in the comments. But oh my gosh, I am so excited to be in the room. I'm just thrilled. I just think this is so much service, and I love this conversation. I love you. Thank you for being here. And
Thank,
yeah, what do you say?
thank
What do
you.
you say, climactic after all of that? I'm just going to sit here and take another deep breath when it's end, and I'm going to in California, it's just now gotten dark. I see Christmas lights out there, and I'm going to sit here and relish and think and feel and just be in the wisdom
Yeah.
that you shared. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. I would say that what you think you can't have, you can have.
Ah,
And the things that you think and have thought for a long time can't be yours, can be yours. I am an anything is possible girl. And I'm inviting you to the freedom to be yourself And I'm inviting you to believe that 2025 can truly and will truly be the year
Mm,
that you never forget, that you always remember that was that
mm,
spark that created that transformation in how you live and the space that you operate
mm.
from, so that the rest of your life is the most authentic life you could live.
Wow. And on that note, Brooke Hemingway, I mean, there's nothing more I can add to that. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you for this heart centered life, entrepreneurship. I hope that you play this on repeat because I can't think of any better way to start the year than number one, being at Align, but second best, listening to the podcast. Follow her on Instagram. You won't regret it. She is the real deal. She's the real deal. And I wouldn't have her if she wasn't. Mwah, to you all. Thank you, Brooke. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.